Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Spill the Tea with Tommy D. So before I get started on this week's episode, I did want to share with you, last week we did a yerba mate, so I did end up getting my bombilla in the mail pretty much the day after I filmed. So just to show you all, this is the bombilla that is traditionally used to drink yerba mate. It is a metal straw, it has a cool strainer at the end. I did use it. Scooped a bunch of yerba mate in my cup, and just filled it with hot water, kept drinking it, and just adding hot water, basically until the flavor started to diminish. So I just wanted to show anyone who was interested just a better view of it there. All right? Cool. So this week, the tea we're going to do is it's called Fruity Pebbles. It is by a company called Tiesta Tea. It's also referred to as their slenderizer. So I've actually seen the company Tiesta Tea advertised on like my Facebook, probably because I'm really into tea, so they're using targeted ads. And I happened to just be walking in Stop and Shop in the like coffee and tea section. There was a bunch of different ones, but I did see this one, and I was like, oh, well, let me give it a try. I've never actually tried their teas before, so I decided to give it a shot. And I thought it was pretty cool because it's really easy if you're at the grocery store, fighting the good fight there, that you'd be able to pick some of this up. So the Fruity Pebbles tea by Tiesta Tea, it is a tea blend, which means it has two different types of tea in there. It has an oolong, green tea leaves mostly, oolong tea as well, and then it also has pineapple, papaya, rose petals, raspberry bits, and strawberries. So the only confusing thing, I don't know if this was maybe just a misprint, is it says it has black tea on the front of it, and then it says that it's a blend of green and oolong on the back. So I'm just wondering if that was just maybe a misprint, because also when you see the tea leaves, you can see that there aren't really any black tea leaves in there, so I'm assuming it was some sort of misprint. So I'm gonna smell it here. So can definitely, really, the pineapple and the papaya are super potent when the unbrewed teas are smell. As I mentioned, after we brew them, it'll probably smell a little different, but it smells delicious. Very, very fruity. The reason why I'm guessing is it's referred to as their slenderizer is green tea has caffeine, it's good for the metabolism. Oolong tea is supposed to be good for digestion. So that combination is probably why they called it that. Now you're probably thinking, wait a minute, Tom. You telling me this tea has green and oolong tea in it? So how long am I supposed to steep it for? What water temperature am I supposed to use? I'm so glad you asked. So this is we refer to this as just blending. So when blending teas, and you can do this is just as when they give you the instructions for a pre-blended tea, or if you have two different teas at home that you want to try mixing together, very, very simple rules. You always follow the shorter steep time and the cooler water temperature. So for example, this one is green and oolong. So we did our Puchong oolong tea, and we've done our Sencha green tea, so we know that green tea is at about 175, oolong's at about 195, sometimes they both about 2 minutes on a green tea, 1 to 2 minutes, 3 to 4 minutes on an oolong. So, according to their instructions, this is one other thing that was slightly confusing, is they give you the instructions on the back, green tea and oolong tea. But I can just tell you that you should follow, for this specific tea, you should follow the green tea, because it is 175, 1 to 3 minutes for the green tea. So that's pretty much all you need to know about blending. Another just good example, like say we had our rooibos chai, and we wanted to maybe incorporate a little caffeine into that, because the rooibos is caffeine free. So you would do, say we did our oolong, you would do equal parts of each tea. We're going to follow the oolong instructions, so 195, so 1 ice cube if you're doing the ice cube thing, and you'd steep it for 3 to 4 minutes instead of whatever we did. I think it was 7 minutes we steeped that rooibos for. So that's pretty much it. So other than that, so we got the proper ingredients. We smelled the tea. Let's take a look at it now. Big tea leaves in this. It's very, very interesting. And I can also tell from the way the tea leaves are shaped and the way they look that this is most likely, it's definitely a pan-fired green tea. I'm assuming it's from China, just because that's where most tea comes from. But we definitely know it's not a Japanese tea like a sencha, because of the way you can kind of smell that toasty crispiness as opposed to that sweet vegetal scent that you would get from the sencha. So here we have it. So we can see this has actual candied fruit in it. So usually with the candied fruit, they just do a little dusting of sugar to sweeten it up a little bit. But you can see the chunks of pineapple and the papaya. I can see green tea leaves. I can see some darker green leaves, which I'm going to go with is the oolong. I can see the rose petals. So when we taste the tea, you might get a little bit of toasty, a little bit of floralness from the rose petals. Yeah, so definitely papaya and pineapple, super potent before we brew the tea. All right, awesome. Let's get this tea going. Before, when I scoop the tea into here, I did this tea. It says 1.5 teaspoons of tea for every 8 ounces of water. That's pretty typical for a flavored tea. So I've got my 14-ounce mug. They said about a 1 to 3 minute steep time. I'm going to do 2 minutes with 3 teaspoons in my mug here. I've got my ice cubes. So like I said, green tea, we are going to be doing a 175. Let's get, there we go. All right. So 2 ice cubes. Get that temperature down to 175. Make sure we don't burn those green tea leaves. I think I overfilled some water here. Hooray. All right. And get the strainer. Boom. Waiting for those ice cubes to melt. Crinkle, crinkle, crackle, crackle. All right. Tea leaves. Perfect. 2 minutes. All right, so because of COVID-19, everywhere in the country is now New Orleans. Because everyone's wearing a mask and drinking in public. I don't know if this is actually legal or if it's just not being enforced because times are hard. But either way, I think it's pretty awesome. Because places are selling alcohol out of their windows like they're an ice cream truck for adults. Which, if this continues, I think is a pretty sweet business opportunity. Because imagine like a truck just driving around all summer with like beer and liquor, and you're hanging in your backyard and you hear like LMFAO's song Shots in the distance. All the adults get excited. They run outside. I think it would be a lot of fun. I think the only hard thing is we have to find out like a really good name for it. I was trying to think of some, but I feel like Alcohol Man and Booze Man don't really go. That actually just sounds like a really bad superhero that probably doesn't do their job right. But if all this continues, I actually kind of want the laws to change, because I'll take drinking outside 6 feet away from people over a cramped bar pretty much any day. Because there is nothing worse than standing in a bar, and some drunk person walks up to you, and you get locked into a conversation where they're just spitting every single word. And if you've never had this happen to you, I have some bad news. You're probably that person. So you're probably the person that you're just too drunk that you don't realize that as the person backs up to get away from you, you're just closing the distance. Wow, that was a fast 2 minutes. But, however, with 6 feet apart and a mask, I'm fine with it. I'll hear you talk. Hear you talk about how you're going to make millions in the stock market, even though the last thing you invested in was Betamax. I don't know. Anyway. All right. Tea leaves. Spilled some as always. All right. Let's taste this bad boy. So before we taste it, I want to take a look at these leaves. You can see these are very, very big. Ooh, look at that bad boy. I can see the tea leaves. The candied fruit is definitely there still. Obviously, I'm seeing mostly the green tea leaves and some darker oolong tea leaves. Darker green. There's still more of a greener oolong for sure. But you can see all the different ingredients still. That's what makes flavored teas so cool, how you can see of them. Let's take a look at this. This is what's most interesting. Very, very pale yellow infusion it makes. Now, I'm going to go with, again, if it was a much more neon green, I would say there's potentially sencha in there, but because of the duller green, I would say for sure a Chinese green tea. And the paleness of it too, I would say a lighter oolong. So now just because you see a tea and it's very light bodied, so like I said, this is going to be very light body because you can see the color. So after infusion, I can definitely smell the tea leaves much more. The fruit is much lighter after the infusion. It's a really good, I'd say, despite the slight confusions on the packaging, the tea itself is very good. It's a very even blend of the flavors. As I mentioned before, when we were just smelling it before brewing, the pineapple and papaya were super potent, and I'm not really a big sweet person. Usually wouldn't drink something like this, but I was really interested in it just because I've seen it advertised before, but I can taste the green tea and the oolong is obviously prevalent. I'm getting more raspberry than I expected because I didn't smell any raspberry when I first smelled it. Yeah, it's a really nice combination of the sweetness from the pineapple and papaya mixed with a slight tartness of the strawberries and raspberries. And I can taste the rose petals too. Right at the end, there's a little bit. I definitely would say it's still very light-bodied tea. So if you're looking for something more lighter in flavor, subtler hints of the different fruits, this would definitely be more up your alley. Also, I would definitely suggest trying this one iced. I think this would be a really cool iced tea. In fact, now that we're getting warmer, I think I'll probably go rocking into some iced teas to show you all how to do that. Very good, very good. Now I say with a flavored green tea, usually a pure green tea, you could get three, maybe 4 steeps out of this. With a flavored one, I'd say you can get a second steep out of it, maybe increase the time a little bit more. But you might lose some of that fruity flavor, and you might get a little bit more, it might be a little more dominant on the tea leaves. Remember, we talked about like the layers of the tea in our pu'er episode. So, thanks again for watching. I really surprised by this tea. I was unsure about it, despite the slight confusion on the packaging. I'd say Tiesta Tea is something you should look for in your grocery stores, or I know for sure they also have a website. And I will, next time I go grocery shopping, I might pick up another bag and give one of their other teas a try. Delicious. They also have a really cool story on the back on how they got started. So I'm not going to read the whole thing to you, but you can check it out. All right. Well, thanks again for watching. I'm going to be doing a short series. I picked up 3 new teas from a company I've never tried before, so the next 3 episodes I'm going to be doing a few different ones. So I know I didn't really talk about any of the serious stuff going on because I'm not really an expert in that stuff, and that's a little hard for me. So I hope everyone's staying well and safe, and despite everything going on, I'd say keep calm and Camellia sinensis on.